RTL is tenderloin. Trip is an LSD experience.
The year is 1967. It's the summer of love. And its spiritual home is a neighborhood in San Francisco known as the Haight, a phonetic irony, I suppose. It was a magnet for the nation's dreamers, veterans from Vietnam, fans of the new psychedelic rock. It was there that America was introduced to the hippie, a young person with long, unkempt hair who hallucinated on LSD, maybe did yoga, read Eastern philosophy. For a hot minute, they were like a tourist attraction.
At this point, we're going to leave Golden Gate Park to go into take a slight sojourn through the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco.
It was a wild time. The Haight-Ashbury hippies were remodeling their little corner of society. Weed plants were everywhere. There were communes that cooked meals for anyone who wanted. A group called the Diggers opened a store where everything was free. They even established a free clinic to handle the inevitable sexually transmitted diseases and bad trips that accompanied this bacchanal lifestyle. But this high point wouldn't last.
A night of terror which left the 28-year-old woman the victim of a vicious murder had begun.
San Francisco police have intensified their so-called Operation Zebra.
The shootings began last night around 7:30 in the Haight-Ashbury district. By 10 p.m., 4 persons lay dead, all white.
Search goes on in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer.
School children are nice targets. I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, shoot out the tires, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bounding out. That was the threat of the Zodiac Killer.
As if the Zebra and Zodiac Killers were not enough, this happened.
There's been a big kidnapping on the West Coast. The victim is Patricia Hearst, the daughter of newspaper executive Randolph Hearst and a granddaughter of the legendary William Randolph Hearst.
What the hell was going on in San Francisco? The pot-smoking longhairs had been replaced with kidnapping, racial murders, and a serial killer taunting the city from within the pages of its own newspaper. The veneer between civilization and the jungle was peeling away. Mayor Joseph Alioto's reputation was in shambles. A change was coming to City Hall.
The city by the bay had become the gay capital of the United States, and a new regime of political movers and shakers were opening doors for the everyday citizen. Old San Francisco was clashing with a new San Francisco.
We're going to spread the action to people whose names never appear in columns, who never appear in the society pages, but who are simply hardworking, dedicated San Franciscans who are going to start to believe that something new is going to happen in City Hall.
George Moscone was a fun-loving, charismatic California state senator who rose to be the majority leader. A known womanizer and late-night socialite, he was a throwback to the era of hard-drinking skirt chasers. In 1975, he was campaigning to be the mayor of his beloved San Francisco, and to do this, he was going to embrace the huge cultural shifts that were happening in the city. Moscone appealed to the traditional constituencies like the labor unions, but he also embraced legendary gay activist Harvey Milk, the environmentalists, hippies, nonconformist spiritual movements, and other radicals who were on the outside looking in. To build a new San Francisco, George Moscone was willing to work with anyone. And I mean anyone.
Give that little sweetheart a little bit of love. Thank you, baby.
Like, for example, the Reverend Jim Jones, the leader of the People's Temple. Jim Jones, the mass murderer, responsible for the death of 909 people. The same Jim Jones given a job in George Moscone's administration.
He became first a member and then chairman of the San Francisco Housing Authority, shortly after Mayor George Moscone had credited him with helping win his election.
If he believed in the candidate, he went all out for him.
Moscone was not alone in his admiration. It seemed almost every major politician in San Francisco was an ally of Jim Jones. Harvey Milk, the hero of the gay rights movement, considered Jones a friend. Governor Jerry Brown praised Jones's work with the community. Rosalind Carter, Jimmy Carter's wife, and the First Lady at the time, appeared with him at a Democratic fundraiser. There can be few political scandals as explosive as the aiding and abetting of a murderous cult.
The threat of mass suicide was quite real.
In the persecution of its members in return for electioneering. Yet this dark side of Moscone's legacy is often airbrushed out of the histories. And the reason is simple. Just 9 days after the massacre in Guyana, future Senator Dianne Feinstein, appeared at City Hall to make this announcement.
Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed.
Dianne Feinstein, the city supervisor who found Milk's body, was named mayor and presided over a period of both calm and plague. The AIDS crisis was arriving, and the Bacchanalian revelry of the San Fran 70s came to a somber close. But California's democratic politics had changed for the good. No longer would gays, environmentalists, radicals, and women's groups be kept outside the halls of power looking in. They became the new ruling coalition for the Democratic Party, a victory for representational diversity. At the same time, though, the double murder at City Hall deprived the city of a reckoning over the scandal of the People's Temple. Without accountability, the new California Democrats were denied a teaching moment on the downside of an extreme kind of tolerance. It's a similar blinkered tolerance that leads today's Californian leaders to save the milk veg plant at the expense of common sense forest management, or that stops the police in Los Angeles from catching petty criminals. Much like Moscone's initial alliance with Jim Jones, this tolerance is motivated by the noblest intentions, but it leads to hell nonetheless. You've been watching an excerpt of my podcast, Breaking History. Find it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.